HyperChange. Welcome to another episode of the Sunday Schemin' Weekly Podcast. Today we're going to talk about Facebook, all the news that came out of their recent developer conference. They're updating their 10-year roadmap and vision as a company. Thought this was a great time to step in, analyze what they're doing, see where Facebook's headed, maybe dabble in the face snap drama just a little, but really this is all about Facebook. So every year, Facebook has this thing called their developers conference. I think it's F8 or something like that, where they invite all their developers to come and they preview all these new products that they want them to start building applications or features for. So this is a great piece of insight into the future of the company for a couple reasons, but mainly it's because they need to tell their developers what they're doing before they release these new products and services to the public, because the developers need to build things on top of these products and services first. Therefore, we get a glimpse into the future of Facebook, kind of like, even though we're not supposed to see it, they have to show it to the developers, so I love checking it out. And this year's was particularly interesting, with all of the drama surrounding Snap's IPO and Facebook replicating all of Snapchat's features. I think everybody was really on the edge of their seat to kind of see what innovation Facebook had in store. And I want to start this off by saying I kind of had lost faith in Facebook. I originally even wanted to call this Facebook has lost its vision, but I'm changing the name for that because I think this F8 developers conference gave me a ton of faith that the company is back on track. They're an innovator. I guess they never were off track. I was just wrong. But great job by Facebook. They come out with a ton of new stuff. Let's just get right into it. The first, and probably not really like an immediate near-term thing, but something that boggles my mind is Spaces. So they launched this thing called Facebook Spaces. Now this is a very, very early version of what the future of virtual reality from the perspective of the consumer will look like. So essentially and you can check out a 30-second YouTube video they did on Spaces, which will do a much better job explaining to it. I'll link it. It's kind of weird and actually has way more dislikes than likes on the video. So I don't know if that's a forward indicator of how well this is going to take off. They're definitely ahead of their time with Spaces, but I think they're making a smart move to do this now. So basically what it is it lets you, when you put on your Oculus, go into a Facebook space or some sort of VR virtual reality room with someone else who's also joined your space. So even though you're in your bedroom in California, your friend's in their bedroom in New York City, if you guys both have your Oculus headset on and join this and create a Facebook space, you can go to that space and an avatar of you will be represented in that space, and you and your friend can sort of hang out in real life, even though it's not real life, it's virtual reality. So this is the beginning of our society, actually having interactions in virtual worlds. I can't even really wrap my head around what this means on a broader society level, because I think it means a lot. Just the fact that we're at the point where virtual reality is getting good enough to where it's gonna interact. It's gonna be a bigger and bigger part of our social experiences and how we live our social lives and how we interact with our friends. And Facebook is at the vanguard of this. And it's interesting because their whole Oculus thing has been pitched as such a gaming platform up until now, but I think Facebook Spaces is the first time we've seen them turning VR into a social platform as well, beyond this kind of gaming niche that it's started to cultivate in. Really promising to see that leap by Facebook. Will this take off in the near term, and will everybody be in their bedroom but actually hang out in these Facebook Spaces in VR? Probably not, because you'd have to have an Oculus headset to do it. And in the video clip that Facebook has where they're explaining this product, they show the people with not only the Oculus headset on, but with the Oculus hand controllers. So you probably need to buy those too. I don't know, it's like $1,000 setup just to basically at this point do an enhanced Skype call. So I don't think it's really going to take off yet, but this will only get better. I guarantee they're going to double, triple, quadruple down on this as the Oculus Rift gets cheaper and better, as their ability to render your avatar gets cheaper and better. This is the direction we're headed. Kind of creepy. My friend maybe watched this Netflix show called Black Mirror. I don't recommend it to anybody who's scared of futuristic technology because it freaked me out. And they basically go into the vision of what this Facebook space is going to look like in 100 years. And if you want to know what it is and have your mind totally blown, I recommend watching Black Mirror, the Junipero episode. Anyway, back to Facebook. Facebook Spaces, VR rooms, this is going to be the vanguard of social virtual reality. And if it works, I think it's going to be a competitive moat around Facebook's business, because I think they're really taking it one step further than just kind of logging in. You type in your password, you type a post, bam, that's your interaction with a social network and a friend. Not that strong, not that much of a moat, but me putting on a headset and meeting my friend in a virtual space and like interacting there. If Facebook can be the platform for that, I think that's a much stickier moat around their platform. First of all, you have to have the VR headset. Second of all, you have to have the network effect of Spaces and that whole software. So I think they're building a bigger and bigger moat with Spaces if this takes off. So brilliant move by Zuckerberg. Probably not going to take off for 3 to 5 more years, but very cool. Check out the YouTube if you need to. Another thing that Facebook is working on, apparently they have this secret R&D lab. I think it's called Facebook Building 8, where they're apparently, now it's unveiled that they're working on something actually very similar to what Elon Musk just announced his next company would be at, Neuralink, which is all about transferring data from your mind into a computer without the like slowness and being bogged down by actually having to type or say something. So it's this whole notion that our biggest friction in our interaction and use of computers is that we aren't exchanging enough information with them at a fast enough rate, because we literally just can't input all of our thoughts into the computer immediately. We have to type them out. We have to say what we want to Alexa. Like, it's too slow. So Facebook is estimating that you're typing 20 words per minute on mobile. They are developing this new technology that sort of sounds like it will read your mind, that will be able to transcribe your thoughts at 100 words per minute. Although it's like very early in what this technology is and how it actually works, like I think it's still in the lab beta test mode, but all you have to know is Facebook has set up an R&D lab with the primary goal of making it so your brain can talk to a computer without typing or speaking. That is going to be a massive platform shift, and I think it signifies that we're a lot closer than everybody thinks to that, given the fact that Elon Musk just announced his company around it, and now Facebook is pushing it too. Literally in the last month, something that looked like it was so far away and like Sci-Fi, now we have two of the most ambitious, avid, like successful billionaires on the planet, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, working to get our thoughts into computers as fast as possible. I have a feeling they're going to crack that code in the next 5 years. Like, very exciting. Who knows what this really means about technology and about our thoughts? Like, if the CIA is hacking our phones, aren't they going to hack the cloud where we store our memory? Like, so a host of questions along with this technology. I don't know. I mean, the fact that Facebook's entire developer conference is playing out like a sci-fi movie, pretty cool. What else are they working on? Perhaps the biggest thing of the keynote in terms of near-term impact is that Facebook has open sourced its augmented reality platform to developers. So this means that developers will be able to create third-party filters, lenses, like effects, like cat effects on your face, like think Snapchat filters and lenses, but Facebook is open sourcing this and letting its developers go at it. This is the polar opposite to Snapchat's strategy, which they put their foot down about 1.5 years ago and allowed 0 third-party apps or developers to create products for their platform. So now we have this very interesting thing where the Facebook Snap Wars have been elevated to a new level of competition, and the paths are no longer converging the same. Now they're diverging, and Facebook, remember when I said at the beginning of this, of like, I actually think Facebook is more innovative now than I did before this conference? Mainly because of this augmented reality thing. Instead of following Snap with every move, now Facebook is leading. This is the first time they made a move to lead augmented reality and make it better, faster than Snapchat, instead of just replicating a feature that was already successful. So maybe this is the moment where Snap has finally lost it, because now Facebook is unleashing its army of developers to create on their augmented reality platform. So think about it. Snapchat is limited to the 100, 200 engineers it has to build these features and lenses, while Facebook is open sourcing this to the thousands of developers, anyone who's good enough to code something for their platform. This is genius by Zuckerberg for a couple reasons. First of all, he's not paying the developers developing the things. They're developing it and they want to make money on it. So it's like this dope ecosystem of him outsourcing innovation instead of Snap paying engineers top prices to develop the same things without open sourced innovation. So the incentives are aligned for you to create a much better app if there's this developer network and it's an open marketplace. And if I'm a developer and I make a genius app, I'm going to get really rich and somebody's going to want to hire me. Like, the incentives are aligned for someone on Facebook's platform to make the best AR app. The incentives are aligned at Snapchat for someone to make the R app feature or lens that's not going to lose them their job. They're not going to get rewarded on which lens is most used. They're probably just going to get rewarded on which lens doesn't get them fired, or whatever. Like, Facebook is calling this their camera effects platform, like the AR studio, which lets you have interactive effects, not just on the Facebook Snaps, but also during Facebook Live. Facebook is doubling down on competing with Snap, and now they're unleashing their developer army to help them do it even faster. This might be the final, dagger in Snapchat, honestly. I would be really freaked out. And if I was Snap, I would almost be rethinking my developer strategy because I don't know. I'd be curious if any of you guys have any thoughts on why Snap is so adamant about closing its ecosystem, especially after Facebook is now open sourcing theirs. The other thing that Facebook wants to have is they want to allow you to have your camera go in front of things and be able to show you like ratings about that. So this is kind of, think of Google Glass, but instead of having to wear glasses, you can do it with your phone. I don't think it's that huge of a deal right now, but I think Facebook's doing this a lot smarter than building glasses because that's another device. People are already busting out their phones using their cameras at all time and they're used to it. If I could bust out my phone in front of a Yelp thing and get the Yelp score, like I would do that too. Another big thing, or this I thought was more important, was messenger bots. So this is something that got a lot of hype a while ago, was like, okay, now we're going to be able to integrate artificial intelligence into all these messaging platforms, which means like you're messaging your friend like, oh, what about that concert? Bam, Facebook's artificial intelligence like, hey, want to book tickets now? We'll make $2 off the commission. The Messenger is apparently home to now more than 100,000 chatbots, up from just 33,000 in September. The example they give is if you guys are talking about food, the M app would suggest ordering food. Nothing too revolutionary here, but Facebook's doubling down on this to make it more convenient, and I think it's smart because it doesn't seem, if they can make it not too intrusive, this could be a brilliant way for Facebook to monetize commerce, because all of the every transaction that you have probably, or like half of them, or like I guess every transaction that you have with a friend, not just alone, you probably have talked about it during text. Like anytime I'm going to get ramen with a homie, I'm gonna text them like, yo, should we get ramen this time? Like, I don't know, could Facebook suggest to reserve the table? Could they be like, you know, you guys probably want delivery, right? And then we're like, you knew us, Facebook. And then they get a cut on that delivery fee. Definitely see a lot of potential in the Messenger thing. I think this is Facebook's artificial intelligence play. They don't really have, Alexa's doing its thing, but Facebook is trying to attack this of like, Facebook's already everywhere just via like all the, like you're on your phone, you're on Facebook, you're on your computer, you're on Facebook. You're always within Facebook. So if they can make it really easy to just drive more interaction into Facebook by having their AI live there, I kind of like this strategy because Facebook itself is like, Alexa seems tied to the device in a weird way. Not that she is, like she's going to make her way through the apps and stuff, but she seems tied to the device because that's how she's introduced. Facebook's artificial assistant seems tied to the app. So it's anywhere the app exists in your mind. So it makes it seem more pervasive and like it can integrate all your social data. So with the data that Facebook has access to, you'd think their AI would be one of the ones that would be successful. Like Amazon knows everything you buy, Facebook knows everybody who you talk to. Both of those are going to be meaningful data sets when building an AI. So I want to see, it's interesting to see Facebook double down on Messenger bots. I think that's smart, but I'm also struggling here. Full disclosure, deleted my Facebook, or deactivated technically. I guess they're waiting for me to come back. Like 4 years ago, haven't gone back. I don't need it. I just think people don't need to know everything about my life, and I don't want a company, does Zuck need to have all my data? No. And he's got enough of it because I have Instagram, so, and my tweets are public, he can read those, so, I don't know. I'm just not that into Facebook, full disclosure. But I think it's a cool product, and I think, 1.2 billion people use it every month, or every day, so. More about the Messenger app is they're launching a Discover tab, kind of similar, I guess Instagram has a Discover tab. This is kind of based on Twitter's old Discover feature maybe, but concept of the Discover tab is it'll let you do things like nearby bots, nearby places, businesses to message. So it's kind of weird to see Facebook double down on all of their apps individually. Before it seemed like, okay, they want to buy everything and roll it up into one. But now they're almost doing the reverse strategy of okay, you do this on Facebook, you do that on Instagram, and then you do this on Facebook Messenger. They had that whole kind of backlash when they took Messenger out of the main app. I have to be honest, I'm not sure why they're diversifying your interactions on their apps into different platforms. Maybe they think that's hedging their bets. It's making you actually more sticky in reality because if you leave one platform, you're still on 2 others of theirs. So they're kind of looking at it as a defense mechanism or position, which actually could be smart. But I also think the double down into commerce through what this Messenger app is doing with bots and now the Discover page, very smart. And Facebook is just figuring out ways that everybody's connected. They have all this data. They're always on their apps. Let's spoon feed them more and more products and services and be the platform for more and more digital interaction. QR codes. These were hyped, stopped a lot of hype. It looks like what the QR codes is you can scan things. It looks like they're trying to pitch it for business. So if I scan a QR code with my phone, like a message or some data will pop up. An additional touch point, I guess you could say, for allowing businesses to interact with consumers at events, at special things. The example that they gave was at the Golden State Warriors game, someone could go in and tap it and get info about the game. Yeah. So pretty much you just hold up your phone, you see the QR code, it pings you with the message. Not too innovative. I don't know. Facebook also announced that they're expanding their Facebook Analytics tool, which used to be only for apps, but now it's giving analytics for pages, for offline conversations, an omni-channel analytical solution. I guess what Facebook's trying to address with this is like there's probably still a lot of buzz about whether Facebook's as effective as Google and how you can measure the return on your Facebook ads. So maybe by giving people more analytics, they'll be able to nail down like a more concrete ROI that they're giving marketers and be able to garner more and more market share of some of these old advertisers who are using older mediums just because they are still not convinced about Facebook. Another big thing is Facebook's goal is, of connectivity. They want to continue to just get people on the internet because they know if you're on the internet, you're probably going to be using Facebook and they're going to be making money for you. So the faster they can get everybody on the internet, the faster they can grow their user base and like capture this mega like tidal wave trend of just everybody in the planet going online. Like this is going to be a trend that plays out for 5-10 more years at least, and Facebook just benefits by this by a trickle of just almost like guaranteed growth to some degree if they remain the dominant social platform, because as these people go online, they're going to go social and they're going to go to the dominant platform, and if that's still Facebook, runway for growth. Building on this user thing, like there's 7-8 billion people on the planet. Facebook still only has 1.2 billion people using it every day. I think they could double, they can even triple this number. Like there's so much growth for Facebook as a platform and they're already making so much money. It's scary to me to think about what Facebook will be in 5 to 10 years if they accomplish these goals. Because if they accomplish spaces and be kind of a destination platform for all virtual reality interaction, that is going to be a company that I think is going to have $1 trillion of potential. Like watch this Black Mirror episode about Junipero to understand how unfathomable and like deep this tech can go once it just gets better. And I see Facebook continuing to improve on spaces, like, and forgot one product. The other brilliant thing that I think they're doing is they launched this very complex camera rig to allow you to capture VR content. So now they're pushing on both fronts of pushing the pedal to the metal to like, okay, we're going to not only are we going to give you the medium to experience VR content, which is the Oculus, but we want to let people create VR content in the real world with these expensive camera rigs to make, give you more and more depth of rich experiences for the Oculus platform. So very cool to see Facebook push on not just Oculus and like getting you immersed in that world, but also push on getting creators to create content suited for that world as well. You can really see the whole vision evolving of Facebook to be this, they even like the extent of our digital lives, they want to be where every single social interaction of our digital lives occurs and be that platform. That was such a small thing when the internet was what it was 5 years ago. And now as we get into VR, as like all these technologies continue to improve, there's going to be so much opportunities for social interaction through digital platforms. And Facebook must stay at the vanguard of that if they want to keep their moat. And they are by pushing us into spaces. So that's why I think spaces from a vision perspective is perhaps the biggest move Facebook has done since I've been following the company. I think it's the next evolution of how digital interaction occurs online, like in the next decade or two. And so very cool to even just see that kind of dystopian sci-fi reality start to exist with Facebook Spaces. Like they make it such this plain little boring, like Facebook's new feature, Facebook Spaces, we're all cartoon characters drawing little things. But really, it's the launch of a dystopian future where we all live in virtual reality. No one can tell what's up or down. And then when you take that further and realize what they're trying to do with this top secret F8 lab and create a way or build Facebook Building 8 where they want to create ways for your brain to interact with a computer even more seamlessly, like think about that in VR. So then it's not just me moving my hand or like saying a word and you hearing my sound. Like I can interact with you. Like I can translate emotions to you through my thoughts. We won't just be talking in VR. We won't just be hanging out in VR, but they'll be like, I could literally basically it's telepathy is what they're trying to build here. Like a way for you to communicate with someone with just your mind and be with them. Like, I don't know what this means. I think it will take off, even though it sounds weird. The biggest barrier is going to be people that didn't grow up with the technology adopting it. And like the biggest thing that will hold Facebook's growth back in VR, I think may not be as fast as they can advance the tech. It's as fast as people are willing to let it infiltrate their lives. So that's still kind of an unknown to me. But if I had to put money on it, I would say that Facebook is already building a product that's good enough to get some people to use it, and they are going to get the ball rolling. And once the ball is rolling, it's only a matter of time before everyone on the planet is doing VR and it's mainstream. If I was a Facebook bull, I have no position in the company. I would be ecstatic of Spaces. I would be trying it. I would be trying to convince my friends to try it and see if it actually will be the future of digital interaction. Because if it is, Facebook is a hell of a moat, and I think they're worth $1 trillion. Now let's dive into some numbers on that. Facebook today at 144 per share is about worth $415 billion. That is huge. That is like basically the size of Amazon. That's almost the size of Google. One of the largest companies in the entire world already. And what's even more striking is they have a price sales multiple of like 15x. So I'm looking at their SEC filing right now. Facebook did $27.6 billion in revenue last year, which for a company that's worth $415 billion is actually not that much. It's a price sales multiple of 15x on trailing sales, which sounds crazy, but when you take into account the growth that Facebook is having as well, you'll see why it's not. Facebook grew 54% in 2016 from 2015. Astronomical. So even though they're worth 400 billion, even though they're doing 27 billion in revenue, they're growing above 50%. This is like eye-popping, mind-boggling revenue growth. In hard numbers, they added almost 10 billion in new revenue to their top line in 2016, 54% increase. I want you guys to wrap your head around these numbers because they're going to get even crazier. How much profit does Facebook earn on that 27 billion? 12.4 billion in operating earnings from that 27 billion. That is one of the highest operating profit margins I've ever seen, flat out ever. An operating profit margin of 45%. What does that mean? For every dollar in revenue that Facebook gets, 45% of it is profit, operating profit. So this partially explains why they're rated so high on a price sales basis. And if that 12.4 billion in operating earnings, if you look at that relative to the market cap, we're only looking at about a price operating earnings multiple of about 33. So they're trading at 33 times trailing earnings. Even though their revenue is growing at 50%, their operating earnings doubled, growing at 100%. Therefore, the PEG, price over earnings over growth, is only about 0.3. So Facebook has a 0.3 PEG if you take their 2016 growth rate of earnings and their 2016 price operating incomes multiple. So the company's actually kind of cheap given its growth rate. And hear me out. Facebook's at an all-time high. Like, I don't own it. I'm not super bullish on it, but I think if you believe that we're headed towards this world domination by Zuckerberg and they are continually going to be the entrenched mobile, like, digital platform, then I think we have a no-brainer trillion-dollar company on our hands. They have this tidal wave of users that is coming towards them. They could triple their daily active user base from 1.2 billion to 3.6 billion over the next 5 to 10 years, and they would still have less than half the planet on Facebook, which sounds like, oh, you're assuming they can just get half the planet? Yeah, like they already have that percentage of internet users, and if you think about the networks effect of this kind of platform, it's only going to increasingly gain relevance and increasingly gain a moat, and if you decide to join a social network, you will be joining Facebook. That's why I think it's almost an inevitability that if you think their product is going to be relevant, that they have this onslaught of growth just from people coming online. Like, I just don't think this gets enough credit. Like, Facebook has a decade of automatic growth just because of this phenomena of the internet. So that's why they're pushing connectivity so hard, because they know that that's just free growth for them. And so even if we assume that Facebook triples their user base, but they don't make any more money off of those users, even though the trend is showing that on a per user basis, they make more and more money from each user each year. And like that trend does not look like it's going to stop. But if we assume it stopped in 2016 flat, but then they tripled their user base. So that 27.6 billion in revenue turns into about 83 billion. So they do 83 billion in revenue. And then you have to figure that, okay, well, they're going to do that 45% margin. Well, if you if they maintain their pricing power, you're going to see even more economies of scale just because of their SG&A and their marketing and their R&D. Like a lot of these are fixed costs that just simply do not have to be spread out to incremental users. So their operating margins, in fact, would probably go up. I don't want to assume that. I'm going to stick, they say, at 45 because let's just try and be conservative here. 37 billion in operating income on 83 billion in revenue. If we assume a 45% margin, so this company, like, you see the earnings power of 37 billion, even if we assume that they don't make more money per user, they just triple their daily user base from new people joining the internet, and they don't show any economies of scale or improve their margins, we still get to 37 billion in earnings. So that's why I see it like almost a no-brainer case for $1 trillion here, because I think as we get into VR, as we saw with the Messenger bot, Facebook only continues to increase the ways in which it is like pervasive in your life, and it's just like I feel like they have their hands in 100 things. Maybe they've monetized like 5 of them. The other 95, they haven't even pulled the lever on. They're just trying to get you to have those interactions on their platform so they can pull the lever. They're sneaking in to all of these avenues, and I think if they can keep their monopoly on this digital platform, then all of those, 95 other out of those 100 features that they haven't monetized, they're slowly going to one by one pull the lever on, increase their revenue per user. So that 37 billion in operating earnings number would be a massive underestimate for those 3.6 billion users, because I think Zuck is going to figure out how to make more bang from his buck from them. And that is why the core thesis, looping all the way back, is even more like, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, even if you are long Facebook, because the market cap's so high and you're kind of like betting on this continual trajectory of their dominance, you need to look at spaces. Like, this is the future of social digital interaction, is in these VR rooms. And if Facebook can corner this market and be like the platform to host all VR spaces, like if you think about it, they're sort of doing what like Airbnb, Uber, Marketplace is, but for VR rooms. So they're connecting people with virtual reality rooms. And there's this whole business of selling the device that actually lets you be in the virtual reality. So they're going to have this network of, you build a space on our platform and you can get anyone on the entire planet into your virtual reality room. Like, imagine my show, HyperChange. I can do an episode and I can be like, guys, meet me in my the HyperChange headquarters virtual reality room, and we'll do an episode, and like it's a live interactive episode where we're all hanging out. Like, that would be awesome. And I would stop my Facebook hiatus and rejoin Facebook to even like do a part of that, because I think it's so cool. So I'm a little bit freaked out by the future of us all hanging out in virtual reality and that being the future of like our digital interactions, but I'm also kind of accepting the fact that that's where we're inevitably headed, especially with not only like Zuckerberg like pushing this, but it seems like everybody is. And I think it also is playing to kind of his genius in making Oculus look like more and more of a brilliant acquisition as we see how it plays into the vision of the company. I personally could like barely fathom how virtual reality and how a headset would play into Facebook's business model itself. Like, where does Oculus and Facebook bridge the gap? Where are those two products really connecting? Like, isn't Oculus something for like really hardcore gamers? Now we've seen them connect. Like, Spaces is Oculus's biggest opportunity, not gaming. It's social. And that's why Facebook bought Oculus. Not because they want to get into gaming, but because they want to get Oculus into social. And so, massive opportunity there. I think Zuckerberg is a genius. I thought Facebook had sort of lost its vision because they were just copying everything Snap did. But when you look at it from a step back, they're open sourcing the lenses and filters. If I was Snap, I would be kind of freaking out about that. And this whole push into the VR spaces is something that I don't see Snapchat being able to compete with at all right now, just in terms of the capabilities to build out that technology, that scale, and like they're not on desktop. I don't know. Facebook will be ahead of Snap in social digital interaction with Spaces. Like, I think Spaces is leaping ahead of Stories as the next like kind of thing. Like, instead of watching someone's story on Snapchat, you're going to like put on an Oculus and watch their story in Oculus in Spaces. So Facebook has finally come out with that new cusp of technology and that new cusp of digital interaction. Great move. Yeah, so bullish on Facebook. Very impressed with the F8 Developer Conference. You guys have any thoughts or ideas or products I missed? Let me know. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. That's HyperChange, Sunday Scheming. See you guys next week. Peace.